Hey guys, welcome back. And today we've got a very special guest joining us. Devin Jackson from the Philly Inquirer is here with us. We're going to be doing a mock draft today. Devin, how's your day going? And introduce yourself.
Yeah, Devin Jackson with the Philadelphia Inquirer. Excited to hop on here, do a mock draft, and so I've been following the draft since tail end of the 2018 class. Got fully into 2019 class, and really have been doing it ever since following the draft and creating content around the draft, watching these prospects, and just trying to best inform people of the next up and coming NFL stars and people that make the NFL roster, fill out the NFL roster. But yeah, so my Sunday's been going pretty good. Just kind of a lax day. We were talking about this beforehand, but the time moving forward just kind of throws everything off. So sun's finally going down. After feels like it should be later, but I mean, it should be earlier, but it's not. So it just kind of all throws everything throws everything off for you.
Yeah, and before we go ahead and get into it, I did want to ask you. I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go through, but you were at the draft combine. What were some of like the big standouts to you before we kind of move forward?
Yeah, so in terms of like standouts, I would say probably. I mean, it kind of depends on what you say by position and whatnot. But for me at least, some of the biggest or I guess notable standouts probably was on the offensive line. I think coming into the combine, everyone agreed that the offensive line was the deepest group, and the testing really backed that up. For me, at least, Brandon Coleman, TCU offensive lineman, who's played tackle, has played guard in his career, really. I wouldn't say surprised me, but really did some wonders for the stock and showing how athletic he is. Because you don't always see it on tape. So to be able to see some of his athleticism, ability to move, in those drills and get under a 5 second 40. I mean, that's you're starting to see that a little bit more and more every year with offensive linemen, but to see it, I mean, you can never take it for granted. But for me, Brandon Coleman was one of the guys that really stood out in terms of his combine performance. And then I'll go Andrew Phillips from Kentucky, defensive back from Kentucky, as another guy who really stood out to me at the very least. And really has had a really good pre-draft process. He's a guy that is a bit on the inexperienced side in terms of playing the defensive back position and starting and getting a lot of time, in at that position specifically. But his nickel and outside corner background, I think, is really going to help him I think solidify himself as a day two pick, as a guy that teams are really going to like throughout the process and bring him in for visits and really show what he can do athletically. But I would say those two guys really stick out as like not first rounders and probably not second rounders, but guys that are going to go in the middle rounds and really did themselves justice in terms of performing well at the combine and just continuing to show what they can do in with some of their peers stacked up against them. So I would say those two guys stood out to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go in and go through the mock. So it's going to be a one rounder with no trades. I've got the odds. He's got the evens. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it. The Chicago Bears at number one. I don't really think it's up for debate at this point unless Chicago trades it. And even then, I think if they trade it, I think Caleb Williams is the solidified number one pick at this point. Some people will say Jaden Daniels has kind of put himself in there, but I don't really buy the smoke screens there. I think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback prospect in this class. He's got an incredible arm. His athleticism is there. I did want to ask you while we're on the Caleb Williams pick, I know some people were questioning his maturity and stuff. Did you see any character concerns with him at the combine, or do you think that's all just from outside noise trying to make him look bad?
Yeah, it's a lot of outside noise. For me, I don't think he did anything to like hurt his stock or anything like that. Like we knew he wasn't going to do anything at the combine. That wasn't really a new development, and him for even to speak at the combine. I mean, Marvin Harrison chose not to even meet with the media and do his podium session. So Caleb Williams did that. Obviously, we saw that one question the guy asked to, are you scared to compete? And, a lot of it's overblown. look, I understand that people don't like what he's done, like whether it's like paint his nails or do these different things, but to me, it shouldn't deter an organization from taking him because, I mean, you're getting the football player, but someone to really represent you. And he's been maligned, over the last couple of years, whether it's like crying after a loss, the nails thing, and just like it feels like a lot of that is like created from the outside, and none of that, no one, like no coach or player or teammate he's had has ever like said he's not a good teammate, or ever
Yeah.
complain about who he is as a teammate. So it's overblown, I would say. And to me, I thought he did what he was supposed to do, and he was out there like you know supporting his teammates when he could have been gone. He was like there at the DB and corner drills and there at the quarterback day. Like he could have chose to skip all that, but he was there, and to me that just speaks volumes into the player he is and the person he is.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Washington Commanders on the clock at 2, and where do you got him going?
Yeah, so this was a tough one because I've gone back and forth. I've given them both Jaden Daniels and Drake May in mock drafts I've done before. But I'm going to go with Drake May here. I just think that when it's all said and done, what he brings as a passer, what he brings outside of the pocket, creating plays off script and off schedule. I don't like to use comps, but to me, his pre-draft process at least feels a lot like Justin Herbert's did. Like people were questioning how good he is, and some of the pieces he had around at North Carolina. I mean, obviously he had Devontae Walker, but they the sums of his offense were not always the greatest thing to watch. Just
Yeah.
a lot of drop passes. A lot of plays he had to make himself. He had to play a lot of hero ball. Same thing with Caleb Williams, but I think those Caleb Williams and Drake May are the 1 and 2 at least for me in terms of quarterback prospects in this class. I like Jaden Daniels a lot, and I think he should go inside the top 5. But I'm gonna go with Drake May here.
Yeah, I like that pick quite a bit. Drake May, I'm with you there. I've gone back and forth between May and Daniels. I think both would be excellent fits in that offense and would be a great direction for that franchise. But I like Drake May. And if Jaden Daniels is on the board here at 3, I think that's what New England does. They just traded Mac Jones. It seems like they are kind of going all in on the quarterback. It seems like they want to go get Jacoby Brissett, which is a name that I've heard everywhere, and then they want to go get a young guy to develop. I think Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback on the board here. You could argue he's second best behind Caleb Williams. His ability to make plays with his legs is absolutely incredible. His elusiveness in the open field. He also has incredible touch on the football as well, deep down the field. I think this would be a great direction for Jared Mayo and the future of New England.
Yeah, no complaints there. I mean, the Patriots need to address quarterback position, and whether they do want to do it here or later, they have to get a quarterback at some point in this draft to build towards in the future. So, agree with that. I'm gonna go with Marvin Harrison here at number 4. I think this is a potential trade back option. With Minnesota maybe wanting a quarterback. Maybe Las Vegas wants a quarterback. But if they stay on the board, I think they have to take Marvin Harrison. You can't possibly miss out on one of the best receiver prospects we've seen. Maybe since Jamar Chase, and then maybe you can go back even further to Calvin Johnson. I mean, that's how dynamic and special of a player he is. So you got to run that card in if you're the Cardinals and you don't want to trade.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver in this class. I think he's the best overall player in this class, and I'm a huge fan of that fit. I think you saw what happened when Kyler lost his number 1 in Hopkins. Go get another guy there. I think Harrison is that. The draft, I feel like, starts here at 5. I think this is a prime trade back spot if we were doing trades today, but we're not going to do that. I've heard Neighbors. I've heard Odunze. I've heard Joe Alt. I've heard Terry and Arnold. I've heard so many names here. And honestly, we're hearing rumors earlier that it looks like Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both could be either getting restructured, cut, or traded. One of the 3. They're going to need to go after a wide receiver here. I like Josh Palmer. I still think Quentin Johnston has some potential, but I don't think they've really got a guy like Malik Neighbors in that wide receiver room, who is going to be my pick here. Just his ability to go 0 to 60 and the snap of a finger. He can just blow by defenders, an incredible deep ball threat. maybe not the biggest, most physical wide receiver in the world, but I think you've got those guys and Johnston and Josh Palmer to where Neighbors could be an excellent addition and kind of exactly what this team is looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Here are the six with the Giants. You when you look at them, you're like, okay, like obviously they have a lot of money tied up into Daniel Jones. Could they make a move for a quarterback? I think they're in play for a possible trade up at 3 or 4. But I feel like if they don't get one of the top three quarterbacks, you probably just go best available here. So for me, kind of comes down to the edge rusher or receiver, just because obviously both departments need a little bit of help. They have Kayvon Thibodeau, but really outside of him, the edge rush, especially last season, really struggled. But also receiver. I mean, they need more and more weapons for that offense. It's just not quite enough. Even with Daniel Jones or whoever is at quarterback, they need more weapons. So for this one, I'm gonna go Rome Odunze. I just think they have to continue to add and add weapons offensively, whether or not. And to me, I obviously you think about tackle as well, but they spent so much capital in tackle. I think receiver makes the most sense here.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I actually have Odunze ahead of Neighbors on my board. I think Odunze is absolutely fantastic, and all the combine hype was there with Rome Odunze. I think he's going to be a stud. The Giants really don't have that physical receiver that they can throw the ball to. You think of Jalen Hyatt and guys like that, Wandale Robinson, both smaller, not super physical guys. I think Rome Odunze is perfect for that Giants team. The Titans, I don't think this is going to be much of a debate. No receiver on the board here that I think should go in the top 10 outside of the top 3. Joe Alt is probably the best tackle in this class. He tested fantastically at the combine, and pairing him with Peter Skoronski on that left side could be huge for the development of Will Levis. Their tackle situation has been absolutely garbage the last few seasons. Go upgrade that, and I'm going to take Joe Alt here at 7.
Yeah, and this one's easy for me at 8. I think edge rusher is the obvious need here for Atlanta. But the question is like which edge rusher they take. I think Jared Verse is probably the most ready right now to make an impact. But when you look at like development and down the line, Dallas Turner could really turn up and be a dominant pass rusher. So I think in this particular situation, I'll go with Jared Verse. Especially with Atlanta going after Kirk Cousins. I feel like they need a guy that's ready to contribute right now versus what they need maybe down the line. So I think you get Verse, you get a guy that maybe he doesn't get 10, 11 sacks every year, but from a down to down consistency standpoint, he's going to be a guy that you can rely on and start to build around and really start to take things off. And for a team that, they want to go out and get Kirk Cousins and get him, they need to compete right now. So I think you need a guy that can contribute immediately in year one.
Yeah, I love that. I love that fit for Atlanta. The Bears are in a weird spot here because I like Dallas Turner and I really like Laiatu Latu as well here, but they've got some cap space. They're rumored to be going after Daniil Hunter and those guys. If they don't go after that, I could see receiver, but I don't really think there's a receiver here worth taking. Interior defensive line, I know Byron Murphy's a guy that's been thrown around here. I'm personally more on the Jerzon Newton train. I think he should be the pick here if they're going to go interior, but not really in love with any of these. I'm just going to bank on the upside of Dallas Turner here because he can drop back into coverage a little bit. We saw that in Alabama, but this guy is athletically a freak, tested out unbelievably at the combine. Great reach, and we've seen the upside there. He also is a pretty solid run defender as well, so really like his upside there. You can kind of learn from a guy like Montez Sweat, and I think Chicago just continues to build that defense up.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now looking at 10 here with the Jets, I think you run the card in here if you're the Jets. Olu Fashanu, I think you have to pick him here at 10. You have to continue to build that offensive line. And I know like Talisi Fuaga is a little bit more tantalizing because he's going to be a right tackle here. Maybe you want to keep Mekhi Becton around, but you have to figure out that left tackle spot. So I think you get Fashanu here. And, he's a guy that can be a cornerstone piece and a guy that can come in and start immediately and give some stability on the tackles at the very least for the Jets.
Yeah, I like that pick. Number 11 here, I kind of think we talked about it with the Falcons. Kirk Cousins, it almost seems like a guarantee he's going to Atlanta at this point. Just a little bit ago, they were talking about he's going to test the open market. I don't think he's coming back to Minnesota. And if we're talking about quarterbacks, I'm not the biggest JJ McCarthy guy, but I do think he fits really well in this Minnesota scheme. And I think the upside is there with him. I think in terms of ball placement, he's right up there with Michael Penix Jr. He has some of the most beautiful throws. Just can he be consistent with the arm? We know he's a solid athlete. Was inconsistent at the combine, but I think there's enough tools there to where you could buy in. I honestly think he's going to go higher than this on draft night due to trades or whatever, but I like JJ McCarthy here to Minnesota. I think this is a really good situation for all parties involved.
Yeah, he fits what you would expect, kind of a Minnesota Vikings quarterback to be. Kevin O'Connell's offense. So I can completely see the fit, and obviously you would think the Vikings probably trade up to get him at that point, considering some other teams that want a quarterback, especially in that top 10 area. So would definitely, I think if he went to the Vikings, it'd definitely be via trade up. We're going to go 12 here with the Denver Broncos. And this one's an interesting situation. Obviously, they're moving on from Russell Wilson, so they kind of need a quarterback in the future. But I don't know if they take one here in round one with some other glaring needs, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They just traded away Jerry Jeudy, so maybe they could go receiver here. They need a second defensive back opposite of Patrick Surtain. They could upgrade the trenches as well. But I'm gonna go Terry and Arnold here at 12 for the Broncos. I think obviously they have Surtain and what he can do on one side of the ball, but when you're a team that still has some pieces away, you just want to take best player available at this point. So I think Terry Arnold is the best player available for them, at least right now. I know, some Broncos fans have wanted Brock Bowers, but with the quarterback situation uncertain, I'm not sure if you want to add him to that offense.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like Arnold as a pick. I think we're going to go back-to-back corners here. I know Talise Fuaga's there, and pairing him alongside Colton Miller could be really nice, but I love Quinyon Mitchell. I think he is right up there with Terry and Arnold as the best corner in this class. And Vegas is a team that, yes, they might have some quarterback concerns. Maybe they try and go get a Michael Penix or something on day two. But I think Quinyon Mitchell has CB1 potential for this team. Lightning quick to the football. He's a really good mover, great ball skills, and he's probably helped his stock more than any player in the pre-draft process with his Senior Bowl and Combine. I think Vegas has been kind of looking for that number one corner. Nate Hobbs has flirted with it, but I don't think he's fully taken it. I think Quinyon Mitchell comes in and is going to be a huge addition to this team.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if I felt like, if Terry Arnold made it to 13 for the Raiders, I feel like that would be the easy pick for them as well. 14 with the Saints, I think, you look kind of at their situation and see, you look at receiver and Michael Thomas is probably on the way out of the door for the Saints. They have Chris Olave, but they have a lot of question marks, at least at the receiver spot and then offensive tackle. We'll see if Ryan Ramczyk comes back, healthy for the Saints. Obviously, he's dealing with a knee injury. But other than that, to me, it's probably receiver or tackle here, just based on what we see. And I'm going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. here at 14 for the Saints. I know they got Chris Olave, just took him a couple of years ago, but when you look at what they need and with where their money is tied up, they need another receiver in there. Regardless if they want to test or see if they can get one via free agency. I think at this current point, you probably have to go out and draft a receiver, whether it's in the first round or second or third, whatever round they need to draft a receiver. And why not go ahead and get Brian Thomas Jr. That can be the deep threat that the offense may need. Rashid Shaheed, he might be out of the door as well for the Saints.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to go there, but I do like that fit. I think he could be that boundary receiver. Maybe Derek Carr can be that long-term guy with some help for the next couple of years, but I do like that fit. That's actually where I was going to go with the Colts here at 15. I know a lot of people have been mocking corner here. It seems like there's a lot of smoke there with the L'Jarius Sneed for that number 46. As a Colts fan, that's what that's my dream right there. I would like to go with the skill position. Adonai Mitchell's what I did in my last mock. I think he would be excellent here, but I'm going to go Brock Bowers here. I think it's going to be Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr., or Adonai Mitchell, one of those three guys. And Bowers is still on the board here. They invested in Jelani Woods, a third-round pick a couple years ago. Wasn't really healthy last season, didn't see the field. But Brock Bowers, I don't think Jelani Woods should stop you from drafting Brock Bowers. This is we throw around the term generational all the time, but I think Brock Bowers deserves that label. He's a generational tight end prospect. Excellent receiver. I think that's what this team needs to pair with Anthony Richardson. So I'm going to take Brock Bowers here at 15.
Yeah, I think for the Colts, you need to continue to upgrade your weaponry and get prepared for Anthony Richardson to kind of take that next step, as a quarterback. So obviously coming back healthy will be the key for Richardson. But we saw in the limited action that he did have that how exciting he can be. So that makes a lot of sense for the Colts' sake at the very least. 16 here with Seattle. I go back and forth with this. I love the fit and potential with Troy Fatanu, coming to Seattle, staying in Seattle, and going to the Seahawks. But I'm going to go somewhere different here. I'm going to go with Byron Murphy from Texas. What he can do in the interior. And for me, I go back and forth with Newton and Murphy. And to me, I have Newton higher, but I just know the NFL values what Murphy brings a little bit higher in terms of what he can do disruptive wise and, how, his athletic profile fits. It just makes a lot of sense why the NFL seems to be a little bit higher in him. And then obviously with Newton going through an injury in the pre-draft process doesn't help him. So, I'm going to go with Byron Murphy here at 16.
Yeah, I like that pick. Their interior is not amazing. And I think interior offensive line or defensive line should be the pick for Seattle. And I like Murphy to the Seahawks there. At 17 here, the Jaguars are in a bit of a tough spot. They addressed the edge a few years ago. Maybe Trayvon Walker has that breakout year. So I don't think that's really where I want to go here. Corner, I would consider Kool-Aid McKinstry here. I know you posted about him earlier. I'm really big on Kool-Aid McKinstry, but I don't know if he goes this high. The guy I'm considering is Jackson Powers Johnson, simply because I think center is a huge need, but it looks like there is some buzz there with him and with Mitch Morse headed to Jacksonville. So I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell here. They're probably going to lose Calvin Ridley. I don't foresee him returning to Jacksonville. I think Adonai Mitchell has shown that he can be a number one. Gotten some CeeDee Lamb comparisons. Reminds me a little bit of Nico Collins. Super quick, ran an incredible 40 time. Don't think he plays that fast, but I think he is another boundary receiver that could be a huge addition to this offense for Trevor Lawrence and trying to get to see what he really is. So I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell here at 17.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I've been kind of all over the board with Jacksonville. Gave him a DB once, give him a receiver the other. So you really never know, where exactly they're going to go, and they're seem to be big players in the free agency market as well. 18 here with the Bengals. I'm gonna go right tackle. This is kind of another run the card in scenario. You got to get Tulisa Fuaga here in for Cincinnati. He makes a lot of sense in what they need. Especially at the right tackle position. What he brings is a run blocker, and he's really solid as a pass blocker as well. J.C. Latham, is another guy I think makes a lot of sense for them, but I think Fuaga is the more ready now player versus Latham, and the Bengals are always pushing their chips in to win now versus waiting down the line, obviously with Joe Burrow as well coming back healthy. So I think you got to shore up that right tackle spot.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think that's a no-brainer. Fuaga would be huge for Cincinnati. 19 for the Rams. This is, I think, the Jackson Powers Johnson pick. I know I'm blanking on the name, but I know they did make a cut with their center currently. And I think that if we look at their interior, it was good this year. They brought back Kevin Dotson. But I think Jackson Powers Johnson, even if he's not your center, I think he can play guard. This guy has been absolutely fantastic everywhere he's played, but I think he is the pick for the Rams here at number 19.
Yeah, 20 here with the Steelers is an interesting one because there's a lot of smoke about a couple different prospects here that are available. Obviously, Amarius Mims at right tackle for the Steelers would make a lot of sense. You got Broderick Jones last year. Why not pair him up with Amarius Mims and have your tackles of the future? But also, J.C. Latham is also on the board still here for the Steelers. And then you go to DB. There's some DBs on at least on the board that could make a lot of sense for the Steelers as well. So I think they're going to prioritize here the trenches. I'm gonna go with Amarius Mims here at 20. I just think um, based on at least what I've heard from some of the Steelers people is that they love Amarius Mims, they love his upside, and love what he can do. Potentially for the Steelers for the next 3 or 4 years. So I'm gonna go on Amarius Mims here.
Yeah, I like that pick. And we're going to continue the trend of offensive linemen here. I think Miami's got to go offensive line. I know Teron Armstead's coming back. That seems to be really it. Robert Hunt seems like he's gone. Connor Williams seems like he's gone. I'm going to go with Troy Fautanu here out of Washington, simply just due to the fact that he can play everywhere for this Dolphins team. If you want him to play guard, he could play guard, but he tested out a lot better in terms of his length than a lot of people were anticipating. He could play that tackle position for this team. I think this is excellent value for him. I think Fautanu to Miami would be an excellent addition.
Yeah, absolutely. 22 here with the Eagles is an interesting one because they are already very aggressive on the free agency market. A lot of rumors, obviously, with them being interested in players, especially upgrading the secondary, safety position. There's some rumors there, linebacker, obviously. But let me take a look here at the DBs. If you can press the DBs here. I think I'm leaning probably going Kool-Aid McKinstry, but Cooper DeJean being there is also an intriguing fit, just based on what he can do inside and out. So I'm gonna go with Cooper DeJean instead over Kool-Aid. I just think, especially with Kool-Aid's kind of pending injury right now, and him not being able to, and really it's going to depend on which DB, I think performs better at their pro day, assuming that they both participate in Cooper DeJean and Kool-Aid McKinstry. But I think DB has to be the pick here. I know they haven't done it since 2002 with Lito Shepard in the first round, at the very least, at least a corner. But they have to upgrade the secondary. Whether or not it's in free agency or not, I think that still remains to be seen. I know they had at least a little bit of interest in L'Jarius Sneed, but I don't think they're gonna, part with the compensation that may take to get him, plus paying him as well, especially with their edge rushers on the market, potentially, or at least in the trade rumors at the very least. But I think DB is the pick here.
Yeah, there's a guy who's going to comment. He's going to hate the pick. Just warning you now, but I think that is a very good pick. It's a very good pick. I think he could play that safety role for them, which was a disaster. He could play corner, which was also a disaster. I really like Cooper DeJean there. For the Texans here at 23, another very similar one. This team is rumored to go after Christian Wilkins. Jonathan Grenard is a free agent. They're a tough team to draft for. And I'm going to probably go a different route than I've gone before with Houston, but I'm just going to add Kool-Aid McKinstry. We just talked about him. I still think he is one of the three best corners in this class, which I know is a hot take at this point. The guy's just super smart. He's excellent in press coverage. And you pair him with Derek Stingley, I think you've got a really good 1-2 punch on the outside at corner. I think Kool-Aid could even move to safety if they really wanted him to, which I think could be an upgrade there. Overall, I think Houston, I'm going to pass on Latu because that's the common pick that everyone wants to make. I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry today.
Yeah, that I mean, it makes a lot of sense. D'Amico Ryan's background as well. They want to be stacked at premium position, so I think it makes a lot of sense. And especially in the AFC, you need to have two really good corners to compete with some of the elite offenses in the AFC as well. So it makes a lot of sense. 24 here with Dallas. I'm gonna run the card in here again. J.C. Latham is on the board. And you need a right tackle of the future. So to me, I think I would say at least at this point in the draft, to me, I think you go probably tackles a premium position. And between Latham and Guyton, I think Latham is just such a strong, physical offensive tackle prospect. I think his technique needs to clean up a little bit, but in terms of what he brings as a run blocker, in addition to his strength and pass pro, I think he would fit right into what Dallas would do. And if there's a case like Tyler Smith where you want to move him to guard, I think Latham could do that as well.
Yeah, I like that pick quite a bit as well. The Packers here at 25. If Cooper DeJean isn't here, I struggle with this pick because that just seemed like the no-brainer pick for Green Bay. But I think there's a lot of different ways they could go. John Runyon, I believe, is a free agent, so that is something that maybe they could take into consideration. We know wide receiver they aren't addressing in round one. They did just cut Devondre Campbell. I am thinking linebacker could be in play. I know not a lot of people are mocking linebackers in round one. We saw Jack Campbell sneak in last year, but I'm going to do it. I did it last week to Dallas. I'm going to take Peyton Wilson here to Green Bay. This is a guy who is really just tested out of this world. He is a really hard hitter. If he can stay healthy, he can be one of the better linebackers in football, I think. And I think Peyton Wilson has he's in every single pile, it seems like. I'm going to take Peyton Wilson to Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a scenario where all his medicals check out too. Obviously, that's really the only thing to me that's holding him back from getting first round buzz is his medicals, his medical history, obviously. But when he's on the field and what we saw in Indy, I mean, he's the most athletic, the fastest linebacker, one of the fastest linebacker in the class, and he's just a playmaker. So I could totally see a team taking a swing on him, just because, like, if he's on the field, I mean, your defense is better. And I think that's really all that should matter. But there, obviously the complications and draft history, injury history, things like that. But Peyton Wilson, to me, he's my top linebacker, so I wouldn't be upset. I know there's the reaction on draft day will be very visceral about it, but he's a guy to me that is certainly worthy of being a top 30 or 35 player in his class, barring his injury history. 26 here, I'm gonna go with Latu from UCLA. Bucks just parted ways with Shaq Barrett. I know they got some really, really good edge rusher play from some of the rookie players as well. Yaya Diaby had a really good season for Tampa, but you need to have multiple pass rushers. It's a premium position. They may go after edge rusher here in the market as well. But with Latu making the 26, to me, if he's there, he's a guy that can immediately make your pass rush better. Same thing with Peyton Wilson. Assuming the medicals check out, he could be a guy that falls into day two of the draft, just because of how his medicals will play out. But if everything checks out, you take him there at 26 if he's there.
Yeah, he's my personal number one edge rusher, and I know the medicals are a concern with him. He's absolutely incredible, and I think this is an incredible value pick for Tampa Bay. At 27, we got the Arizona Cardinals. I can see them going a number of ways here. Corner, interior defensive line, edge rush. I'm going to go with Jerzon Newton. He's still a first-round caliber player to me. I think a lot of people have been sleeping on the player that he is, but I think the value here for one of the best run defenders, one of the best pass rushers from the interior in this entire class, I'm going to take him here to Arizona at 27.
Yeah, I don't, disagree with that at all. I mean, he's my top interior defensive lineman as well. I just think, unfortunately for him, the undersized part, along with being injured during the draft process, is hurt him, as Murphy has been, kind of skyrocketing up the board. But like I said, I like him a lot, and to me, he should be a first round player. But we'll see how the NFL feels about him, and if he does get a chance to test, where exactly he'll land. So that'll be interesting to watch for sure, just in terms of how it unfolds and how confident teams will be that he's that guy that he shows on film. 28 here at Buffalo. Receiver is a popular pick here. And I mean, you look at if you go to receivers real quick, I mean, you got to feel real confident about one of these guys to take him here at 28. To me, it's kind of between like, do you want kind of another speed guy like Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy? I know they invested quite a bit of draft assets, at least at the receiver position. Gabe Davis obviously out the door. I'm gonna go Keon Coleman here. I just think the athletic profile, what he can do down the field, and just pairing him with Josh Allen, I think that pairing is exciting in terms of like he's going to throw it up for him to go get the ball, especially downfield. Stephon Diggs, is starting to slow down a little bit as he gets up there in age. You need a guy that you can rely on down the field in the red zone. And I feel like Keon Coleman is kind of that guy that they kind of need. I know they drafted Dalton Kincaid last year to be kind of that, over the middle, in between kind of guy. But and now with Gabe Davis potentially leaving, I think you got to have Keon Coleman or a receiver at least in that type of skill set to be able to do that and be able to stretch the field, but also go up and make contested catches.
Yeah, I absolutely love that pick. That was the pick I was going to make there as well. I know people are going to look at the 40 time. He plays way faster than that 40 time. I'm not losing sleep over that if I am the Bills. For the Lions here at 29, I'm going to upgrade secondary. I know coming in at 170 is a bit concerning, but I think Nate Wiggins has shown the potential to be one of the top guys in this class at the corner position. Super fast, ran a 4.2, which was, he said it and then he did it, which I think surprised a lot of people. He lived up to his word. Obviously had an injury, but this guy flies. He's very good in press coverage. We'll see if he can get that weight up because it is concerning, which is why I have him falling this low. But Nate Wiggins is a really good corner. I think Detroit needs to upgrade that secondary, and I really like this fit for him.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, they need to upgrade the secondary any means necessary. So if it's Nate Wiggins, I see Kamari Lasser on the board. I think he would make a lot of sense too for Detroit. You have to upgrade that, and we saw the deficiencies, what it could do to their defense last year, especially that corner 2 spot. There wasn't someone there to really be that top flight type of guy, and they went after their second DB consistently, so they need to upgrade the position for sure. 30 here with Baltimore. This one's always an interesting one because they always take the guy that just gives them the best value. But to me, there's been one player consistently that to me is like, you look at him, he's a Baltimore Raven. And I'm going to go Darius Robinson from Missouri. He, to me, just looks like a Baltimore Ravens player. 6'5", 285, 290. I know he didn't test like a elite athlete, but he's a guy to me that you put him in that Ravens defensive system, he's going to be, alongside some of those other freaks they have on the defensive line. He just makes a lot of sense for what he does, inside out versatility, a bit of a bigger edge rusher, a guy that, can complement some of their speedier edge rushers. You think about Odafe Owe and some of those other guys they have in there. I know they had Kyle Van Noy and Jadeveon Clowney on that defensive line too. So to me, he kind of would fill that Jadeveon Clowney role that he played this year. So I like Darius Robinson there.
Yeah, big fan of Darius Robinson. The numbers don't really scare me as much as I think maybe some people they did. But I think he's an incredible player. At 31 here, we've got the San Francisco 49ers. I think they're ecstatic that Tyler Guyton is still on the board. When it comes to the actual draft, I don't think Tyler Guyton is going to be here. But just I think the value here is incredible. He's still very raw as a prospect, but the upside of Tyler Guyton is tremendous. They desperately need a right tackle. And even if he doesn't start right away, learning from Trent Williams, you're in a pretty good spot there if you are Tyler Guyton. I think they are going to address the O-line early and often, and I really like the fit there. Zach Frazier I considered as well, but I think Guyton tackles the more premium position. We're just going to go with Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, to me, they have to get a tackle here in this class, whether it's round 1 or later. They need a tackle of the future. I know they just extended Colton McKivitz at right tackle, but in terms of like the discrepancy between Trent Williams versus McKivitz is a good player. And I don't want it to come off like that, but they need a guy that is a true athlete because Kansas City, especially in the second half of that game, they came after that right side of the offensive
Yeah.
line early and often. So they needed an answer, and they didn't have one in the Super Bowl. All right, here to round out the mock draft, Kansas City Chiefs, who we were just talking about. I think the most obvious pick here would be to pick Xavier Worthy. But when you look, at what they do, they just love those mid-round receivers. They typically don't go the conventional route. So for me, I'll take a look here at the edge class, because to me, they took tackle last year in Wanye Morris from Oklahoma. I'm not sure if they double dip here again. So I look at a guy here like Braylon Trice. To me, I think he fits a lot of what Kansas City likes to do defensively. He's a guy, that didn't have the greatest testing day. I know he went down from 274 to 245. Didn't really test all that well. Couldn't really finish out testing. But in terms of what he brings on the field, he is. I mean, he had the most pass rush or pass rush pressures of any edge rusher in this draft class this year. He had 77. So to me, I think he's a guy that's going to be a much better pro than he is currently as even a much better pro than he was a college player. And I think that production is really going to, ratchet up as well. So I know they just re-signed Chris Jones, but I think we need to continue to add to their edge depth and take Braylon Trice here.
Wow, I was not expecting Braylon Trice to be a first-round pick today, but I don't hate it. But that's going to do it for this mock. Big thank you to Devin for coming on the show here. I'll leave all his links down below. Really appreciate it. I had a great time. That's going to do it for me in this one. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.